Welcome to October Scaries, where I'll be watching these 13 movies that I have not had a chance to watch yet and reviewing them. I've already done The Shining and I enjoyed it so much that I decided to add Doctor Sleep. So let's talk about it. So we catch up with Danny and he is not doing well. That sweet 5-year old is now an alcoholic um, in the way of his father. Um, and when we saw what state his life was in. He ain't got no job. He doesn't have a place to stay. He's getting into bar fights. I figured he turned to alcohol and subsequently, developed the disease because of the trauma he went through as a child, right? So the first of all, the imagery he was seeing in his mind with the twins and the blood, the whatever happened to him in room 237, and then also his father trying to kill him and his father trying to kill his mother, his father dying, being chased by like all of that. I figured that was why. Then he reveals later on in the movie that he can not only sense when someone's about to die, he can see it in the form of flies that are, buzzing all over the person. And in the weeks and days before his mom passed, her face was covered with flies, so much so that he could only see her eye or something like that. I was like, yeah, you needed to escape. Yeah, you needed to escape, especially because he didn't have a mentor. He didn't have guidance. He didn't have anybody to help him with his powers. I don't know what Dick was up to. Like, Danny didn't see him in the 5 years or so, 8 years or so since he became sober. But before that, it didn't seem like he helped him at all. And so I don't feel like we needed Dick in this movie. Like, I don't know what he does in books, but I feel like his presence in this movie was purely as a callback to the first movie. And also because without him, Danny wouldn't have anyone to speak to who knew what he went through as a child. So I guess, but I feel like something better could have been done. Like, you were in this boy's life this entire time. Yes, he told him about the boxes, and that was like the last and only good thing that he did for him. So Danny's down bad. So he meets this woman, goes home with her. The next day, finds out she stole from him, so he steals from her. Finds out that she has a child, gives the kid some crackers or chips, and leaves. How cutthroat was it when he realizes that she died of an overdose, and the kid passed away probably of starvation and thirst, and he did nothing. He did not leave an anonymous tip. Danny said, "This has nothing to do with me. Death happens to everybody at some point. Let me move on." And he moved. He moved on. He did. He got his life together and turned it around. Met this really nice guy and helpful guy named Billy Freeman, who got him into AA. And he got a job as an orderly. I was very afraid that he was going to become some kind of like angel of death situation where he was going to be killing people, but he more so helped them find peace and accept the transition that was coming. So that was nice. He also meets this young psychic shiner named Abra. I loved Abra. I loved her relationship with Danny and their partnership. I think they worked really well together. I didn't really understand why she was calling him Uncle Dan. And it just felt forced. But I like them. Abra was heroic, brave, and so smart. Like, she I love the scene. My favorite scene is when she does the first like psychic walk and figures out where Rose is in the grocery store, and then Rose realizes that there's another presence with her and tries to take control, and Abra kicks her out of her mind. So to the point that Rose gets physically hurt with the nosebleed. I love the way that was shot. I love the cinematography in this movie for the most part. So that scene with Rose, the scene where Rose psychic walked to Abra to figure out where she is. I love the depiction of that. There was a slight part where she was like flying, over the city that almost didn't work, but just before I got to focus too much on the CGI, they had some clouds drift in front of her to kind of obstruct our view, and everything was fine again. I enjoyed the way that the psychics died, which they're not alive, right? Like, yes, living a long time can possibly live forever, but they're not quite human because when Rose did what she did to Andy, killed her, because Andy at one point when she, comes out of it says, "It felt like I died." Rose said you did. So they're not ghosts like at the Overlook, but they're not alive like Danny and Abra, because otherwise, why do they need to seem so bad? So I don't think they're alive. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But the way that they died was visually and sonically engaging. It sounded scary. It looked scary. I love that you can see them fighting it, right? Because you see their skin alternating between decaying and then also like them fighting it, like coming back and being like skin again before ultimately they decay and they become steam. So I like that a lot. What didn't work for me visually was the glowing eyes. I think it was the size. It just looked fake. They looked too small. They looked fake. I also don't think Rose worked as a villain. Because what did she do? I mean, the coolest part about her, which cool is a bad word, but them murking that little boy, the kid who played baseball, was shocking for how long it went and how, like, the multiple stabbings. I was not expecting that. But other than that, like towards the end, she inhales two canisters of steam, which makes me think, oh, she's about to go Super Saiyan. But she didn't do anything impressive. Like she gets to the hotel. Um, Abra, is kicking her butt in the maze, or maybe it's Danny as Abra. But she was impressive. And the choreography between her and Danny on the stairs when he swings the axe and then she like blocks it or takes it from him and then like, nicks his femoral artery. It was clunky. It wasn't well choreographed. So I didn't think Rose was impressive as a villain. I also didn't. At one point during that confrontation, she remarks on how handsome he is. I didn't see it for her. Like Andy and Danny and Abra deserved a better foil because she wasn't it. Andy was more impressive when Billy, rest in peace, shot her, and before she died, she said she's gonna get the last word, and she told him to himself, and he did. That was shocking as well. Ultimately, Danny sacrificed himself in the hotel, and I think that's an appropriate ending for him. In the movies, he went out on a high note. Like I said, he turned his life around with the drinking, was a force of good in people's final moments, and then was a good influence on Abra and made her feel good and gave her hope about her powers and ultimately set her on a path that's going to be different from his. Told her not to hide, and he validated her and all that stuff. So, he went back to the hotel. The hotel got him. Like, they feasted on him. He fought them off a little bit, but they swarmed him, and the house possessed him. So, and then he blows up the house. So I feel like this was a good ending for him. This movie was not as suspenseful as The Shining. When I compare it to how The Shining made me feel and how The Shining left me feeling afterwards, I would rate this movie a 3 out of 5, just average. But when I don't compare it to The Shining and I just look at it as, because it had a different tone. Like, I feel like The Shining was very grounded in the characters and their relationship. This movie, yes, was about Danny and didn't really establish anyone else in the way that the first movie established Jack and Wendy and Danny. You know what I mean? I just feel like there wasn't like much character work. Like, we had Abra. I don't even know what grade she's in. If they said it, I totally missed it. Her family dynamic, nothing about that. It's just a blank slate. Like, it's good. It's, have her powers cause any dysfunction? We don't know. So when I compare it on those aspects, The Shining is so much better. I gave it a 5 out of 5. This one, when I compared, is 3.5. Is 3 out of 5. When I don't, it's 4 out of 5. I did enjoy it overall, and I enjoyed how smart and how smart their plan was. Abra and Danny. So that's it for Doctor Sleep. Next movie I'm gonna review is The Mill, which I watched tonight, Monday night. So I'm gonna review that tomorrow. Peace.